Welcome to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're here tonight once again on our Wednesdays here with the Buttkicker Cup Series at the Wicked Racing Leagues, folks. My name is Zach Hall, Joined alongside me is Brandon Colley, and we got playoff action here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the NCI sponsored race here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. So it's going to be a fantastic night of racing. 12 drivers doing battle, all trying to put themselves on the line to get to that next round, to be the 8 drivers trying to make it down to that final 4 for the championship race. But playoff time is so special, and it's going to be a special race, I'm sure, tonight. Brandon Colley is joining me up in the booth. Brandon, I tell you, man, this is going to be a wild start here, but we're going to have a lot of fireworks, I think, underneath the skies here at Charlotte.
Oh, absolutely, Zach, and I couldn't really think of a better place to start a playoffs really. Bog standard idea of the cookie cutter so-called tracks here at Charlotte. It's one that everybody on the oval side of this service knows very, very well. This is probably the first track you've raced at on your career for iRacing, so these guys all know how to get around here, but do they all know the small secrets to this place for these different track temps, these different rubber amounts laid down? Those are the things that are going to give the guys the edge to find a good result here tonight.
Those will definitely be those edges, like you said, Brandon, to gain those results. And right now, we're in the most critical part for the start of your race. We're in the qualifying session. This is where you put down your fastest time of 2 available laps. The best time you have will set you on the grid to start tonight's first playoff race here for the NCI 250 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. So, Brandon, how crucial do you feel like it's going to be here for qualifying? Because we do have those stages there at lap 45 for stage number 1 and stage number 2 for lap 90. So we'll be points paid out those stages, but how critical do you feel like this qualifying can be for that opening stage?
Well, I think qualifying is always critical, Zach. If you set yourself up with good track position, you don't have to try to race to get back up to the front if you already start there. So you obviously want to try to get as best a starting position you can and just feel out your car. And the farther up you are in the front, the less chance you're going to get caught up in something near the mid-pack that could potentially cost you a lot of points toward the end of the night and possibly take you out of the race. So you're going to want to be trying to put down as quick a time as possible. And we see Alex Coffey top of the board here. Gavin Rogers in second just behind him. And these two guys, fastest in practice, so no surprise to see them on top of the board right now.
Not one surprise bit at all, as Stephen Borbell second or third on the board, there with Brad Dell fourth, Richard Wolsifer there in the 5th position. As we're watching the 33 of Jamie Plore here put down his fast times here to see where he qualifies on the grid for tonight's races. At the moment, he's in the 17th position. But 12 drivers, like I said, make the playoffs. This started all off here tonight at Charlotte. The points leader coming in is the man on top of the board in qualifying so far. That's Alex Coffey. He's got about a 19-point gap back to the cutoff line. Gavin Rogers in 2nd position, just like here in qualifying for points, as he's got a 13-point gap to the cutoff line. Cedric Hunter in 3rd, but we had got word today that Cedric Hunter would not be competing in majority of these playoff races, so it's going to be kind of sporadic for him. So going to be tough to move on there, missing tonight's race especially, as he's 8 points above that cut line. Steven Stippian, last week's winner, he's 7 points above the cut line in 4th. 5th, Cody Reed, the winner from Watkins Glen, he's 5 points above the cut line. 6th is Stephen Borbell, 3 points above the cut line. 7th, Adam Buzzio, 1 point above the cut line, and dead even on the cut, tied with the next 4 drivers below him is Jimmy Kumanek in the 8th position, as he's 0 points to the good, with Mason Halsman, Johnny Shea, Blaine Wilson, and Dakota Camper being our other 4 contenders. And Brandon, it's very, very close here. I mean, even 19 points for Alex Coffey, the points leader, that cannot feel the most safe.
It for sure cannot if you are Alex Coffey, because he's got to know, especially with these 2 stages, that's 20 points potentially up for grabs here that you could lose. One bad misstep here tonight can end your playoff chances immediately with how close these guys are on points from the 1st to the cutoff line. So you do not want to have any mistakes here. And there's some guys back like Blaine Wilson that is tied for that cutoff spot, but he's starting at a disadvantage tonight as he has to have a pass-through penalty at the start of this race after incidents at North Wilkesboro last week.
We do have a few of those penalties out there. The 56 of Richard Wolsifer, he'll have an EOL into the line for him. So 2 penalties given out the drivers here to start tonight's race. But it's time to set our grid as qualifying has came to an end. What a close time section it was there. But we are now going to look at our grid here to start tonight's event here for the first race of the playoffs for the Wicked Racing League Cup Series here for season number 2. It's going to all kick off here for 140 laps as you can see them lining up on that grid, getting ready here to be able to start tonight's race. As our gridding order here is the 7 machine Alex Coffey on pole position. Second's going to go to the 77 of Gavin Rogers. Third's going to be Stephen Borbell. 14th or fourth is going to go to the 14 of Brad Delth. Fifth is going to be Richard Wolfsper, as we talked about. He's going to have that EOL penalty given to him. Sixth is Steven Stippian. Seventh is Cody Reed. Eighth going to go to Johnny Shade. Ninth, Jamie Plord. And rounding out the top 10 is Dakota Camper in the 43.
You've got Carl Fuller in the 71 in 11th, Jimmy Kubinek 12th, Dallas Manis in the 13th position, Adam Buzzio in the 5 and 14th, Gregory Shaw in 15th, Ryan Harrison 16th, Mason Hossman 17th, Blaine Wilson in the 18 and 18th, Steve T. Cole in 19th position, Alexander Light 20th, TJ Roberts 21st, and Michael Giamatti in 22nd to round out the field.
22 cars here for the NCI, 250 here at the Wicked Racing League. As you've seen the starting grid, the drivers are going to get ready to begin to roll off the grid here in the next few moments. But I tell you what, Brandon, the thing that I'm most excited for is the start of this race. We've seen this 7 and this 77, the triple sevens, as I call them, throughout the majority of the season. They really are magnets for each other on racetrack when it comes to speed, especially both. I'd say the top 2 drivers when it comes to speed here in this league. It's been shown historically, and they also have some bumps along the road when they're racing each other. So to start off tonight, even after last week, this could get a little hairy here to start for stage 1.
Well, it lends itself for excitement, that's for sure. I mean, obviously, if you tuned in last week in North Wilkesboro, you saw the fireworks erupt before we even got to the checkered flag between the 2 of those drivers. So we'll have to see with them starting right next to each other if they decide to play nice in the early going here and maybe lay off on the beating and banging until it gets down towards the end of this thing.
We'll have to see who is the first one to push and who's the first one to take. So it's going to be one of those things to see here early. But I think with the first round of these playoffs, they may elect to be a little less aggressive. But again, thank you all for tuning in here tonight. It's the start of the playoffs here at the Wicked Racing League for their Buttkicker Cup Series in season number 2. Last season, we crowned a champion here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and the driver on the outside of the front row, Gavin Rogers, he was crowned that champion by winning that race. So we'll have to see if he can do a similar feat here tonight and start his playoffs off the way he ended the season 1 playoffs. Or does Alex Coffey, Stephen Borbell, Brad Delf, Richard Wolfsper, any of these other drivers have anything to say about it before the race is over with? We'll have to see, though. Pace car is getting close to pit road. It takes the hard left-hand turn down the pit road, and we're getting ready for the green flag as they head towards the Geico restart zone. Alex Coffey in control of the field, and as we get to the end of it, it's green flag in the air for the NCI 250 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And what a start from Gavin Rogers. He is shot out of a cannon there, Brandon, and takes the lead from the outside.
Well, it seemed to me Gavin Rogers elected to maybe go with a lower gear for this start. It worked like a charm as he shot out of a cannon and has got a good handful of car length gap now on Alex Coffey.
I think that may have been the case there. That first gear start compared to a second gear start could be the way to go as drivers going to turn 1 or turn 3 and 4, sliding up the racetrack for the first time, getting that dirty air that is created by half the field. And as that, you've seen that also come off for Blaine Wilson. He's serving that penalty for coming down pit road here. And we'll see how he can recover from that. But right now it's the 14 of Brad Delf under threat from the 2 of Borbell. But there's a car in the background. I think Dallas Manson, the 45, he had to go way low and stay out of the inside wall. Luckily for him, he gets back up on the racing surface. As right here, the battle for that 3rd position continues on. Borbell to the inside.
And you see Stimpian there pushing Borbell past the 14 of Brad Delf. Stimpian looking to move toward the front here. A little lackluster qualifying effort for Stimpian. Oh, and there's that early caution.
It's DT Cole. In the 96 there, you see him still sliding away. I think we might have had some contact between him and the 6 of Alexander Light to start this race off on lap number 2. And man, oh man, this is a tough break, but I will say it does seem like, you know, the damage or the hits were not too damaging to the race cars. Hopefully, because we also know, Brandon, we do have an update with this car, a little bit less forgiving when it comes to it, and we may lose that nickname of a tank as we get that instant replay queued up.
Absolutely, and doing some testing after iRacing gave us this new damage model for these next-gen cars, I can confirm they are no longer tanks. And you guys will see right here, just going through the tri-oval, and it looks like possibly Steve T. Cole maybe looking to cut off in the front of the six and just not quite clear to do so. He's going to go for a ride here. A little slow slide to start, but six, you see, give him another bump to send him all the way around. But lucky for him, managed to avoid the inside wall, and then when he slid back across the track, just scuffed the outside wall with the nose here. And looking at that car, he still seems a-okay, minus a little wear on the tires.
The tires are what's going to take the brunt of that for sure there, Brandon. I'm surprised he went to hit the Alexander Light, had the second one for him, as we get to see here. That nose just coming just in contact with the outside wall, just scraping it, not doing anything bad. But, you know, with that right there, I was expecting to see more damage on Alexander Light's car. But luckily for his sake, his car looks completely clean also, like Steve T. Cole. So both of those drivers coming unscathed from that, but definitely going to have some fears from that incident. Also, another thing we have to take into account here at the Wicked Racing League, they do have one fast repair in that bank, and I think that's something you don't want to be using in the first 5 laps of a 140-lap event, though, Brandon.
Oh, absolutely not. I think that's something that we've said almost every week here, how crucial it is that if you're going to need to use that, you don't want to have to use it early. And on the flip side of the incident we just saw, Zach, Dallas Manis, with his little bit of contact to the inside wall on the backstretch after his scare, he had a pretty decent amount of left front damage. He has sat on pit road here, electing to get that fixed rather than used his fast repair by the looks of it. But just kind of a tale of two different tapes there. Slight contact for some, not resulting in damage, but slight contact for others, resulting in just a little bit.
We'll have to see how that damage affects cars too. That's something I think still we're going to be going through the learning process of with this new damage model here with the Gen 7 Cup Series car. It was before pretty much you got damage. It was never too terrible. It completely fixed itself perfectly. Now we'll have to see, does, you know, if you get that damage, is it more crippling to the car's speed, or is it something that cannot get fixed entirely in pit road? It's definitely still a learning process, I think, for that. And the playoffs, the best time for learning.
Best time for learning, but if you're somebody that tends to find yourself using that fast repair, you're maybe not wanting this more fragile of a car to have to deal with immediately going into the playoffs.
It will definitely put a hamper on you if you know, you get too fragile of a race car. And some of the incidents we've seen this season that people came back from may not be doable now. So we'll have to watch how that plays out. But the opening first stage here, mired by a first little ticky-tack yellow. There is two drivers going for the same spot on the racetrack with Steve T. Cole coming across the nose of the 6 of Alexander Light and bringing out that first yellow. But got to get to lap 45. We should have no problems with fuel here, Brandon. There is an 80% fuel load here at Wicked Racing League, so they do have 16 gallons instead of the 20 gallons that could be allotted to this next-gen car. But they should have no problem still getting to that lap 45 marker.
It should be pretty easy for these guys to do so. It's going to be more about the tire wear and, you know, just trying to manage your stuff here, and hopefully, you know, we don't get another caution before the end of this stage. But if you do, then you've got to worry about, hey, do I take another set of tires? And you've just got to run all these situations through your head, risk versus reward for the end of the race, because you definitely don't want to get stuck at the end of the race down a set because you opted to go for some points early on.
Being down a set late in a race can always be a huge detriment and loss out. And even with, you know, the bringing up of tires, you know, 5 sets total, so 4 in pit road. How do you feel like these drivers are going to break this up, Brandon? Because, you know, we do have that stage at lap 45. We have a stage at lap 90. Then we go that last 50 laps green. Should have no worries about green flag stops. So do you feel like drivers here are more or less just going to be waiting for those stages for the tire changes, or will we see somebody elect to go out there and try to get some stage points?
Well, I think some guys that are, you know, tied for that cutoff, they'll probably risk it for the biscuit here and maybe decide to throw on a set for this one of the stages and try to get a handful of points. But the rest of the field, I think you're going to want to save those last 2 sets for that last 50 laps. You can be really aggressive with strategy if you have both of those sets for that last 50 laps. So I think a lot of the guys in the field are going to elect to go for that strategy.
We'll see which strategy works the best, who plays it, and where it all comes is an outcome here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting here at the Wicked Racing League. Is right now we're getting ready for a very interesting start here to this second restart. Is it's going to be Gavin Rogers holding that position here for the lead over the 7 Alex Coffee. Is we're going to get ready for the green flag here to start us back up and get the racing back going here for the Buttkicker Cup Series, here for the playoffs at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And this time it's going to be in control. Gavin Rogers no longer having to wait for the green flag. We'll see when he elects to go as the pace car is in, and we are getting ready as we get closer and closer to the restart zone. And green flag is out, and we are off and away with Rogers restarting well.
And again, shot out of a cannon here. And first four getting pretty single filed out. Gavin Rogers not pulling out to quite the gap that he had on that first initial start of this race, but maintaining the lead nonetheless.
Maintaining the lead down the back straightaway. Rogers there holding position as Coffee was thinking about taking that position there, but just could not make it work. And the question will be, how do you play this out? But it's the group from 5th on back that's the one battling. Is this Johnny Shea, Brad Delph, Cody Reed, Dakota Camper, a lot of the playoff drivers right here in line. And if you see the car's banners, the purple means they're in the playoffs.
And you see how wide these guys are swinging through the corners, and that's one of the great things about Charlotte Motor Speedway here on iRacing, is you can really work different lanes, and depending on track temps and rubber laid down throughout the run, different lanes will have their strengths and their times in the race where they will be the go-to lane. But you've always got to worry about the fact that that higher lane, it's more cornering speed, more load on those right side tires. That translates to more wear. So you've got to manage how much time you spend up there. So these guys are going to be trying to make these passes efficiently and get back to the inside so they can start saving just a little bit.
Every driver right here trying to find the space to get some clean air on the nose, but you can't give up too many spots to find that clear air from behind. So you got to go forward. Here's Camper with a nice run through 3 and 4, gets a little loose from himself there, and he's going to have to hold on to that position. Even with this battling going on, we did have a switch up even for the lead. Alex Coffey was able to take the lead, so it just showing you opportunities are available for passing here early in this run, but the question will be, how will the tires last for you?
You're going to have to really pay attention to that. It's the first stage for me anytime that I've done stage racing, Zach. And you go out and you drive it how you feel you need to, as hard as you feel you need to make up whatever ground you think that you're missing. Ooh, there's a little bit of contact there with Brad Delph and Johnny Shade. Ooh, that could have been calamity. Managed to keep it going there. That was close.
It was so close. It could have been that second yellow there, Brandon, no doubt. And right there, you're seeing Johnny Shea once again drive to the outside down the back straightaway.
Oh, contact with the
weaving. And it's Gregory Shaw that goes around in the 51, and he is spun around on the back straightaway, bringing out that second yellow. And it seemed like at some point, with how these guys were all just bobbing and weaving, we were going to come to that happening. And looks like TJ Roberts, the driver that's involved with it in the 51.
Well, we didn't get to see much of the new damage model for the next-gen cars that last track. You're going to get to see it now.
That we will. A lot of damage cars right now is the meatball flag, as we call it here in iRacing, which is the required damage flag. It means you have to get the car worked on for a certain amount of time before iRacing will let you go back out there. It's 3 cars in that one, and that's TJ Roberts, Alexander Light, and Jimmy Kubanek here. We got our instant replay queued up. You can see that black car there, 3rd car in the background there, dart to the left, and he's just going to dart left into Gregory Shaw. I don't know if he had some type of issue or he got into the wall that caused him to dart left there, but just catching that right rear of the 51. And from here, it's going to be a melee as drivers are trying to make it through. Alexander Light, once again, just nowhere to go for him. And just so many drivers involved in this into a late little bit of an incident there is the 96 of Cole comes in there and collects the 45 of Manis.
Arc of brakes, a bit of loss of concentration, all culminating in a pretty big stack up here at the back of the field. Fenders flying everywhere. And like you said, Zach, there was a little bit of contact with the 3 coming out of turn 2. And I think just a little bit of frustration there from making that contact, lost focus, and allowed the car to drift down into that middle lane. And calamity ensues.
Big junk here on the back straightaway here at Charlotte. And already into this beginning of this race, you know, we've had a few little incidents here, and it's just shown how mixy this race could be. I mean, I went back and looked at the stats from last season here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We had 8 cautions, so 6 of those were for incident, as 2 of those were for stages, as they run the NASCAR format of 2 stages here at the Wicked Racing League. And you know, even 27 lead changes, so that tells me it was a hectic race. I mean, so we could have something similar play out here tonight at Charlotte, and this would be a wild way to start off the first round of the playoffs, especially with Michigan coming up next week, Brendan. I think this is putting these drivers into the unknown, especially the ones that were closer to that cut line.
Well, knowing that Michigan's coming up next week, if I'm one of these guys out here, I am focusing my all onto this race, trying to maximize points, because Michigan is traditionally not a very easy track to pass at with these next-gen cars. Very high downforce. You can carry a lot of center speed, and you just kind of end up trained on the high side. So if you can maximize points here and not need to gain a bunch of spots and points next week, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Oh no, folks, we have lost Alexander Coffey there for a moment, but looks like Alex Coffey comes back. There's worried about his connection for a few seconds there. He had a little bit of a drop in his quality number here on his connection side of things, but the number does seem to be reclimbing, so I think the 7 should be all right. But that's always a super big scare, Brandon, when it comes to, you know, having network issues when you're racing.
Especially when you're leading, Zach. That's the worst time. You don't want to hear anybody say you're blinking, and you don't want to look at that little indicator that a lot of drivers will have on your screen that shows your overall quality in connection to the server. You don't want to see that fluctuate. If that's fluctuating, typically that's not a very good time. Guys lose track of guys that end up blinking out, and that causes incidents, and especially from the lead. You don't want to get wrecked because your car disappeared for a second.
That could be a heartbreaker of a story. I mean, and only 19 points here above the cut line was Alex Coffey coming into tonight. So if you were to have an issue here in stage 1, especially, and not get any stage points and finish back in the 21st position, that would be devastating to your night, in my opinion, Brandon. So, you know, for Alex Coffey with the 19-point lead, I think the biggest thing for him is get through the stages. Then you can take a little bit more risk for the 17. But with network issues, that's not really a risk. That's just a, you know, hope nothing happens bad to you.
Absolutely. You're crossing your fingers, holding your breath that 1, you stay connected to the server, and 2, it doesn't cause an issue that maybe you end up getting wrecked and don't even get any points for any of the stages and find yourself in a very big hole to climb out of this early in the playoffs.
We'll have to see how that works out, man. But this is going to be a nerve-wracking stage for, I think, a few drivers, because they know how critical each and every point could be to get to that round of 8. And if you don't get those points at lap 45, you'll luckily have another chance at lap 90, but you want to get as many of those stacked up points as available. As we got a bunch of playoff drivers up here: Alex Coffey, Gavin Rogers, Stephen Borbell, Steven Stippian, Dakota Camper, Johnny Shade, Mason Hossman in 9th, and Cody Reed in 10th. It's the drivers like Adam Buzzio outside there in the playoffs, looking on the outside. Blaine Wilson, drivers such as him. So it's Jimmy Kubanek even in the 8 machine back in 18th. They need to try to move themselves farther up here, get their opportunity to come up here and get some stage points that would allow them to be in a much better situation heading into Michigan next week, because that track, I can tell you now, if you think tonight's race is going to be wild, it's going to be even that much more wild there, because it's just bumper to bumper action. Cannot get away from your competition. It's all about the draft. But here tonight, it's all about Charlotte, the home of NASCAR. Here as the pace car pulls in, and we get ready to go back green here for the NCI 250 here at the Wicked Racing League for the Buttkicker Cup Series. Green flag is back in the air, and Alex Coffey off and away.
Now that time, Zach, it looked like Gavin Rogers sleeping just a little bit on that start. About got run over from the 81 of Steven Stimpian behind him here, but everything gets back settled out, and they're single file yet again out of turn 2.
First 6 cars single file. The first one battling is Johnny Shade and Jamie Poole back for 7th and 8th position, because everybody's stacking up here. We'll see what little bit of tire saving, if anybody did here in the first 17 laps, to be able to move themselves farther forward, because right now it looks like everybody fighting for any type of lane.
And a little bit of connection issues for the 78 of Mason Hossman back here around that 10th position. Guys letting him know that there's a bit of an issue here. Not a problem as of yet, but luckily everybody navigating. But hopefully he's in the same boat I think that Alex Coffey is. That gets resolved as quickly as possible.
He's going to hope for that for sure to be fixed. For his situation, I remember back to Nashville Super Speedway, a track he won at earlier season, had a lot of issues with that connection. Got it fixed up. Hopefully that his connection issues have not reoccurred, because yes, that 78 continues to be disappearing and reappearing for us here, and that is not what you want to see for Mason Hossman there, who's trying to compete for a championship. And right now he's got to compete a lot, because right now it's the 47 Johnny Shade, that winner from Atlanta, trying to make his way forward.
And for anybody that's out there watching that maybe has never been a part of any iRacing event, be it official, hosted, or a league event, being behind somebody that's having these connection issues, not too big of a deal. It's a little bit distracting. It's kind of comical at times, but when you're next to somebody that's having these issues, it is terrifying, because you have no idea where they're at on the track. As we're riding along here, the man himself, Johnny Shade, I believe. Yeah, Johnny Shade, Mr. Cool, Calm, and Collected on the outside of Adam Buzzio. Still looking like he's having a great time.
Johnny Shade, always cool, calm, and collected for sure, Brandon. And right now, he's in a sticky situation, though, because right here he's battling for the end of those stage points. Blaine Wilson there making that pass on him. That's took the 10th position away from Johnny Shade, but he's going to cross back under him and try to make this move to the inside here down on 3. And again, this is for that final stage point. Look right there, he's leaning into the corner. That tells me, usually when I lean, Brandon, I feel like I'm getting a little bit tight, because I'm trying to make that car turn.
Try to shift your weight just a little bit and help balance out.
It's always the best way, I feel like, man, is right here, Shade still in position to get stage points, but he's got a bunch of playoff drivers around him. I mean, you know, right here, Cody Reed goes around the outside. That's a playoff contender, along with Blaine Wilson in the 18, so that's shifting him back now to the 13th position with Cody Reed in the 10th spot. So Johnny Shade going backwards, almost contact between him and Alexander Light there off of forwards. He's going to have to hold station here. Now it's going to be the 56er Wolsifer, as he's got that EOL penalty. He's starting to recover from that, trying to get up into the 14th position.
Well, and that just showed you right there, watching Johnny Shade get freight trained on the outside. These guys can learn a bit of something in preparation for Michigan next week, because early on in these runs, especially with how cool this track temp is right now, these tires will fire off with a tremendous amount of speed, especially with the momentum on the high side, and you can get trained up there, and it becomes very hard to pass until the tires get worn out.
It's exactly similar for sure, as Brandon is. We're watching right now the 25 of Cody Reed. He's working the outer groove. They're trying to hold off Blaine Wilson. This is for that 10th and final bonus point there in the stage. As Buzzio ahead of him, the 5. You can see it underneath our ticker there. He was diving to the inside of the 14, trying to make an aggressive move, and this is going to open up the door. Here comes a big run from the 25 Reed, who's been using that outer groove, so we may see some multi-groove action coming into factor.
And it seems like the outside lane is really where a lot of the speed is, but I'm wondering how long is that going to last? And that's kind of what I alluded to earlier, where I would approach the first stage as going out and pushing hard and just kind of abusing my stuff and figuring out, you know, what the limit was. How bad is this track using up the tires here with the track conditions, and just make adjustments from there and be better for the next stage, and just try to be fired on all cylinders for that last sprint after the stages to the end here. And I think the guys that are really ripping the outside right now, they're going to have a lot of good information as to how viable that's going to be later on, and exactly how long you can run that before maybe you start to give up time, or it really starts to hurt the balance of your race car.
You will have to see how that does work out there. Is right now that 25 getting the pressure put on him still by the 18 of Blaine Wilson. Is this group is all stacked up. I mean, really, even all the way back to this 9th position of Brad Delft there, who's looking to the inside of Buzzio, who's going to the top here. All these drivers within 1 second of each other with our leaders. So it's just showing you that right here in these opening laps, you can't get away too far, because everybody's showing similar speeds. As right now Dakota Camper, look at him going for the 4th position on Borbell.
Dakota Camper having a really good run here after Wilkesboro. You got Mason Osmond trying to help push him by with a little bit of that air pocket on the back of the 43. Camper sends it off into the corner, gets clear for the moment, but Borbell on the 2, carrying a decent run, going to be able to stick the nose back to the outside of the 43, and then the draft kicks in.
That draft's so powerful down the back straightaway, and that's what pulls Borbell along, but he's utilizing the clean air there off of 3 and 4. Now going to get the draft as Steven Stimpion's going to drop down. He's got the cover back off because that 2 had such a good run off of 4 that 81 had to possibly think about covering that off. And look, he even drops high here to not allow that 2. And that's just some defense being played, in my opinion, by the 81.
Smart defense as well. And that's something that you have to keep in the back of your mind, that typically here at Charlotte, turns 3 and 4 are a bit tighter than 1 and 2. It almost seems like a bit of a narrower radius for 3 and 4 here. So not having that clean air on the nose, it's gonna hurt that balance just a little bit more. And perfect example right there with Borbell. He found the clean air and was able to carry a lot more corner speed and a lot more of a run out of the corner. And he's found himself up a couple positions while Dakota Camper continues to fall back here, now under attack from Adam Buzzio.
Camper definitely in trouble here, dropping back positions. As Buzzio here looking to go forward here up to the 7th position for Adam Buzzio, who started back in 14th. So good rebound from that qualifying effort. It just wasn't the greatest from the 5 team there, but his race pace trending just like it does week in and week out to put himself farther up along this grid. And important stage points here gathered for both of these drivers. This is the battle for that 6th position. Is Plord behind him in the 33 machine. He's up to 8th. The 14 of Brad Dells back there in 9th, and Blaine Wilson has finally took control of that 10th and final spot in the stage here that's coming up at lap 45 with Cody Reed.
Well, and we talked about Blaine Wilson at the top of the broadcast having to serve that drive-through penalty lap 1. He caught the biggest break with that early caution because that prevented him from going a lap down or even having to ride around by himself for a little bit. And if this thing went green, he was for sure missing out on stage points. So he's in position to at least get 1, and that's better than none.
1 is definitely better than none, Brandon. That's for sure. Right now, we're starting to finally see some separation right here throughout our field. The top 2, they're starting to separate themselves. Alex Coffey and Gavin Rogers are starting to go forward. Is right here. Look, Richard Wolfster, he makes the pass on the man. It's the 45 who seems to be struggling a little bit here and dropping back. So 2 non-playoff drivers battling it up here late into the stage here for stage number 1 and trying to do the best they possibly can to get themselves farther along, especially the 56 who qualified so well, but is having to recover from the EOL penalty.
A good recovery drive, just slowly making progress. And if you've started out the race with some bad luck, get caught up in a little bit of something here, just kind of get your feet back under you, get refocused, and start picking them off as they come here. And so far, it's been beautifully done. Contact
there between the 25 there and the 3 machine of TJ Roberts, who's a lap down compared to these drivers. He was going around the outside of the 25. The 25 slides up into him. That was almost an incident for a yellow there at some point if they didn't hold it together. But here comes the 3 of Roberts now passing the 6 of Alexander Light to move himself forward in position on track, but not position on the leaderboard, because remember, he is 1 lap down, so these passes not mattering. But here, to look at this, the battle for 3rd. Stephen Borbell making the pass on Steven Stympion.
And you see right there, Zach, that outside lane off the corner carrying such a run down the backstretch. Steven Stympion goes way up to the 3rd groove here, but that's not going to work in 3 and 4. Borbell able to make that pass. We'll see if Stimp has anything for him, trying to cross over here, set him up to duck to the outside, but Borbell closes the door.
And just like that, Borbell up to the 3rd position, and that's where he started. So our first 3 qualifying spots all held by the same drivers, and you can see from Steven Stympion, look at the gap that Alex Coffey and Gavin Rogers have opened up. Those 2 are flying right now. The only 2 drivers that are really into the 30.7s right now. A lot of other drivers starting to fall into the 31-second bracket, so upwards of 2 to 3/10 faster than anybody.
And the exact reason for that gap is how close those 2 are on pace. They're not spending any time side by side, where these guys have been battling for these positions and slowing each other up through the corners just that little bit lap after lap. It's allowed these 2 guys that were already a little bit faster to establish even more of a gap over the field. And I'm sure once they get far enough out here and feel like they've got a good gap that they can start battling without bringing the rest of the field to them, they'll start getting a little bit dicey.
How dicey will it get? It's going to be the question here. Is the 77 has stayed close. Look at this. Going to move up to the upper groove. Can he generate a run from this down this back straightaway with the draft now that the 77 or the 7 slides up in front of that 7-7, and just not enough. So I think it's going to take an interesting run here from the 77 to get past this 7 machine, as the 7s are just flowing.
Well, it seems like shades of Richmond, shades of Wilkesboro. 777 supposed to be lucky, but it hasn't been thus far.
Not so far as right here. It's still Alex Coffey holding on, and Rogers here, I think he'll come into the picture here with this run he's starting to generate, and I think just going to be shy of it there as he just pops in as the last second, because the running off the top was good, but it gives up too much ground in the corner, so I think he's just going to have to figure this out on that bottom side. So how do you set this up, Brandon, when the driver in front of you has the groove that you want?
Well, you saw the extreme going all the way up to the wall while the driver you're trying to set up a pass on is all the way on that line at the apron. Like you said, it gives up too much time. You just run a little bit higher, just enough to get a little bit of clean air. You generate a slight bit more momentum, and you just inch closer and closer. Look for a mistake, look for a slightly better run out of yourself, and pick your moment. And that's the best way to set somebody up here when that outside lane, that extreme outside lane, just not quite there at the moment.
And man, oh man, this is weird. What is going on? There's the caution thrown for the stage. So our information was wrong. Sorry, folks. The stage is at lap 40, I guess. So I guess that changed up on us, but I guess our next stage will be at lap 80 if it stays the same. But Alex Coffey there, the winner of the stage, and Gavin Rogers there getting second. Stephen Borbell third. Fourth is going to be Steven Stippian. Fifth, Mason Halsman. Sixth is Adam Buzzio. Seventh, Dakota Camper. Eighth, Jamie Plord. Ninth is Brad Delt. And 10th for the final point is Cody Reed. So some playoff drivers there getting some good points to help build their case for that round of 8.
Well, and unfortunately, some of those guys that were on the cut line or outside of it, not getting any stage points, stage 1, going to be looking to rebound. And I'm thinking Jimmy Kubanek, Johnny Shade, going to need to figure out something here for this next stage to try to regain some of the losses from this first.
They'll definitely have to gain here because the rest of the drivers pretty much all right there on top of getting stage points here for this stage here. So it's definitely going to be something Shade and Kubanek are going to have to think about. But at the same time, they could come out here and win. They could come out at Michigan and win, and they could lock themselves in. That is the wildness of the playoffs there, is you win to lock yourself into that next round. And right now, coming up pit road, let's see if any mistakes here can separate our top 2, because after that, we'll get a talk here with Alex Coffey, Brandon.
Well, I have to look and see how these pit stops play out. We've seen mistakes sliding through your box will cost you greatly. And doesn't look like either of our front 2 going to make that mistake. Almost identical timing on their pit stops.
We'll see who wins the race off of pit road as the tires are being jacked up on right to left. And then look at that. Coffey able to win it off that first pit box. Very, very valuable. Ooh, contact there between Borbell and Stympian is that group all stacked up there off the exit of pit road, but it's the CNC Esports driver of Alex Coffey there winning stage number 1. We'll bring him up here and have a chat with him about his first stage here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Hey, Alex, it's Zach and Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, Alex, a great run there for yourself, man. Winning stage number 1, coming here 19 points to the good. Does it feel good to get those 10 bonus points to help build that gap to the cut line?
Yeah, it does. Charlotte is not my favorite track at all. I actually despise this place, so yeah, to have a stage win, I'll take it for sure.
Well, Alex, again, a great stage 1 for you and the 7 machine, and it seems like we've seen a lot of guys trying different lanes here. You know, how do you feel like this racetrack wants to be run here tonight with these cooler temps? Where do you feel like the car's going to be the fastest over the course of this run?
I don't know. It felt good on the top of 1 and 2 and the bottom. So I think it's all about how you drive it. Well, 3 and 4 is predominantly bottom though. 1 and 2 is just wherever you want to run. You can even run the middle if you want to.
Well, Alex, man, best of luck to you for the rest of the race. Congrats on the stage 1 victory, and hopefully we'll be talking to you in victory lane later.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, that was the driver from CNC Esports, the stage 1 winner of Alex Coffey. He had some great insight there from us on which lines to run, and interesting to hear, Brandon. It's always interesting when a driver, doesn't like a racetrack, and then they run good at it. I mean, that's always an interesting thing that plays out sometimes.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? It's like, I don't. There's something about it where you just put in that little bit more practice for the track. You're just like, man, I'm never good here, and you just kind of slog through the practice, not thinking much of it, and then you come out and you show up at the track and you've got speed, and you're like, oh man, when did I get good here? It works out that way sometimes.
It can really be that way sometimes. Sometimes, I feel like this, Brandon, being a driver myself, I feel like going into a race where you don't feel confident sometimes can actually be a good mentality, because it kind of puts you in that mindset of, I'm going to have to just give it 110% if I want to get something good out of this. And I think sometimes when you come in a little confident, you can kind of come in a little bit lazy and just not, make the best of decisions and think that things are just going to go your way because the track fits you. I think coming in here with that mentality sometimes can actually be a mental game.
I know that is absolutely 100% true for me. I love going to tracks that I feel fast at as a driver, but generally I don't tend to finish very well there. It's always those tracks that I just either have never run at, or I, again, don't feel confident at all, that I tend to have a good finish at. And it kind of goes back to that pessimistic saying that if you expect the worst, you'll never be disappointed. It's easy to be disappointed when you feel like you should have run well, but when you feel like you should finish last and you come out of here with a good finish, you can't be too mad about that.
Can't be too downbeat, that's for sure, man. It's one of those things that mental is definitely a huge effect in this racing stuff. I mean, it takes a lot of physical talents with, just overall reaction skills of just taking something you see and putting it to use. Because we don't have the same feel in the sim as what a real life race car driver would have with G forces and just that seat of the pants feeling. So we got to use a little bit less, but we make do with it. And man, the mental side can definitely creep in and have those issues. But it's going to be pace car in, and it's time to get ready for the green flag. As Barney the flagman waits, it's going to be Alex Coffey though in control of the field as the green flag is out, and Gavin Rogers there not able to hang on to that 7's quarter panels as Alex Coffey looks to go win another stage.
Well, and it looked like second, third, and fourth having a bit of a problem there on the restart as Mason Osman all over the back of the 2. Oh no, the 2 into the 81 of Steven Stimpian.
Steven Stimpian, hard collision into the outside wall, and I don't see any. Oh, well, now it is there. Required damage flag for him, so I think it's a broken toe link because he's got 3 drivers 3 wide. Right behind him is Johnny Shade, the 45 of Dallas Manis, and the 33 of Jamie Plord. And right now, Steven Stimpian right in the mix with him. He's got
no!
Oh man, the 45 of Manis there taking a heavy lick there, as it looks like he kind of just came across the nose of the 47 of Shade. And Brandon, this was huge for Steven Stimpian, one of our playoff contenders, because now he'll be able to come to pit road and get that fixed without having to make a green flag stop there because of that yellow.
That was incredibly unfortunate for some, but like you said, Steven Stimpian caught a massive break there. That was going to be at least a lap down for him, and going to be able to get that fixed under caution. It's going to hurt the track position for sure. But again, this new damage model that we have for these Gen 7 Cup cars, that bit of contact there with the old damage model probably wouldn't have hurt too much other than the feelings. But with this new one, it's just so much more fragile and easy to break these toe links. That slight bit of contact and not even slightly bent out of shape alignment with your wheel, it just immediately broken and having to come in and get that fixed. So big break for the 81. But some guys gonna hope that they haven't used their fast repair for that.
Yeah, they're going to be hoping for sure for that, because I think another driver that's going to have to possibly use one is Dallas Manis. He didn't get required damage from this incident, but the nose is pretty destroyed here as we get to see the look of it. See Steven Stippian there in 81 ahead of this 3 wide of Manis, Plord on the outside, Shade in the middle. And the 81's slow here with that broken toe link. These drivers are all coming up on him. I think the 45 knows that the 81's probably broken, so he's probably trying to think, I need to shoot to the outside of this 81 when we get the one here. And he's got the run at the moment, but you're just going to see he's going to come across a little bit prematurely, and the 47's still going to be there. That's going to cause this right here to end up in a head-on collision into the outside wall with the 45 of Dallas Manis.
And it's an unfortunate racing situation, Zach, because, you know, Dallas is trying not to get picked behind the car that he sees is obviously slower, and Stympian is trying to get down to the apron to get out of these guys' ways, knowing that he has this issue, but they're so close to him, he can't slow down as much as he would like to make that transition to the apron, so he's having to dive in late to not have such a sharp entry and risk coming back up onto the track and getting into somebody, and it all just kind of culminated in that incident we saw there, so it's a bad racing deal.
Just a tough incident there to bring us to yellow here, and with the way this race is playing out, a lot of fast repairs already being in use. Steven Stippian, he uses his fast repairs. TJ Roberts, he's used his fast repair. Steve T. Cole, Jimmy Kubanek, Alexander Light. I mean, literally, this is more drivers, in my opinion, than normal that we're starting to see with damage piling up where they had to use that fast repair. And I think that, again, comes back to that update to the damage model. And I think it's a good change, though, Brandon, personally, because looking at before, these drivers were able to take such hits in these cars and just keep going, where I think you need to be a little bit of a slap on the wrist for, getting into walls and having those, events like that. I think it changes the way the race plays out and kind of makes it tougher on everybody there, because they know one simple mistake and you could be out of a race quickly.
Oh, 100%, Zach. It really lets the racecraft suffer when you know that you can put these cars in such bad positions that if you take big hits, you're not going to pay a price for it here. Keeping it between the navigational beacon and making sure you're not hitting other people, you're not putting yourself in vulnerable positions, you're not getting into the corners too hot and hitting the wall and hurting these cars, that's going to make all these guys better drivers. In the short run, you're going to be really upset that such small things are damaging your car, but you do it enough, and it's going to improve everybody across the board, and there needs to be some risk to that reward. And if you risk putting your nose inside of a car, making a dive bomb move, if you hit them, you got to understand that maybe I'm going to wreck my car, maybe I'm going to wreck them, and that could be my night over, make you think twice.
It will definitely make those decisions a little bit more tough, as I believe here the pace car lights should be going out this time by here, as we're going to get double file back up. Alex Coffey still the leader of this event after winning stage 1 and sitting on the pole. He's got Gavin Rogers, the last season's champion and last season's Charlotte winner, on the outside of that front row. Now with Mason Hossman in the 78, he's driven himself up into third here from the 17th starting position. He's teammates with Gavin Rogers. Can this have a factor right here, Brandon, coming down to this next restart in this next run?
Well, I think these two could very well work together, and we saw that last restart that Mason Hossman was being very aggressive, trying to make moves to get farther towards the front, I believe starting 5th last time. And something else I want to point out, Alex Coffey, he's in position for that freaky fast Grand Slam. It's a little ways off yet. Didn't want to bring it up during his interview, maybe jinx him, but he's still got potential. He could pull that off.
That would be an amazing feat to pull off the start of playoffs, man. And don't want to say you jinxed it, but you brought it up a little too early. So we'll see if it continues. Alex, if something goes wrong, blame Brandon in the booth, because he's gone and done it. So we'll see if he can pull this off for the rest of the event, because he's got some hungry drivers right behind him who have tons of speed. That's the thing. The speed is there for someone else, It's just going to be who can get out front and stay there. As the pace car is in, Alex Coffey looking to figure out when he wants to go inside of this Geico restart zone. And he's going to take off there in the middle of the box. And green flag is back out in the air as Alex Coffey there with a good start. But I tell you what, Gavin Rogers had an excellent one also. So he's going to enter around the back bumper and actually cut down low here. This is a battle off of 2.
You could see the momentum lost for the 77 of Gavin Rogers when he made that cut back to the bottom. The 78 of Mason Hosman able to close in extremely quickly on the back of this battle. But I think right now, I don't really know who to give the advantage to. You can hold a lot of speed on the bottom with the fresh tires, but the run that you can generate from the top, right now, the advantage is to that inside line with the teammates working together, is almost bump drafting each other around this racetrack.
I think that's going to be the huge thing. The inside line is going to have the numbers. It's going to have the draft where normally, you know, the driver in that 3rd position would drop high, push the 7. But right now, the 78, I think if he gets anywhere close to it, he's going to always drop low to help that 77. So this opens up the door for Gavin Rogers here, racing with that 7 machine, Alex Coffey. These two battling it up, and the 78 wants to come in here and battle with the 7s.
Well, I'm sure Mason Hosman would love nothing more than to figure out a way to get by both of these guys and set sail and just go lead some laps. And hard battling at the front yet again from the 7 and the 77, leaning on each other here as they're going down the backstretch.
These guys are like magnets, Brandon, I tell you. It doesn't matter what racetrack, what style, they're always bumping and banging and leaning on each other. It's just how these two drivers are with each other, and it goes to show is how close the action is. It's great for us up here in the booth, but I'm sure from out there on the driving track, it can get frustrating between these two. But look at this, Coffey with the undercut here. Rogers is going to block it off, and now he's going to cut to the inside, and this racing is not done for the lead as they race down to 3.
You see Gavin Rogers trying that outside lane. Inside, a little bit more of an advantage, but slight run. Looks like gonna look to the outside, fake to the outside, back to the inside for Gavin Rogers. Just crossover after crossover with these guys. We heard from Alex Coffey, the outside of 1 and 2, just as good as the inside, but that inside lane in 3 and 4, that seems to be the sweet spot. And right now, Gavin Rogers in position for the moment, trying to side draft to his best, and he's gonna hold on to that inside position.
What a side draft from the 77, but the 7's going to get it here off the exit, and it's going to stay side by side. And can this be a detriment to their tires, Brandon? Because they're so focused on racing each other's almost contact there with another side draft between the 70 and the 77. As say almost contact, there was contact there, as now the 7's going to have to cross back under once again as the 77 looks to cover them off, but they go for it once again. Can this be a detriment, though, Brandon, is what I was getting at, because they're so focused on each other. Someone like Mason Hossman, you know, Stephen Borbell, Adam Buzzio there in these next 3 positions, could they just be lingering in the weights?
Oh, I think 100%. These guys up at the front, they're so focused on beating each other, and, you know, obviously no love lost between the two of these guys, racing as hard as possible to just be the one out front. They're pushing with everything they got right now, and you're seeing it with all these moves, the contact. They are not giving an inch, and they're willing to use up every bit of rubber they have. And Gavin Rogers absolutely sailing it off on the outside of turns 3 and 4 here. That was a better outside of 3 and 4, I think, that we've seen all night out of the 77.
That was excellent work from him. He was into the entry so deep there on the outside line and made the nose stick. But look here, crossover. He saw it coming. He saw the 7 driving it in. The 77 now backs it up, and now he's almost going to clear. But again, the side draft is just too strong. You can't break away from that car on the outside groove.
Oh, I love that move from Gavin Rogers. That was a dare. That was, okay, you dove it in to get clear of me. You scoot up. I dare you to try to cover this off. And Alex Coffey was wise enough to not take that dare, and he's still here managing to battle for the lead. But Gavin Rogers battling back hard on the inside. But like you said, Mason Hossman closing in slowly here, and he's got the 2 of Stephen Borbell right behind him.
We'll see how it takes a turn here when these other 2 drivers get involved. But right there, the 77 of Rogers. Look at the run he gets, almost a bump to the rear end of the 7 here. As I think the 7, you know, that's the thing, when you're out in front, you control the pace. And sometimes when you get clear like that, Brandon, you're trying to back it up and save your stuff when you're out front, and that driver behind you let's say Rogers not trying to allow that to happen. He's trying to get to that lead position, but as soon as he fights with him, Alex Coffey turns it up a notch.
Well, and we talked about burning up the tires, Zach. These guys were running about a 10th quicker than the field. Last time by, the front three tied, running identical lap times, but Borbell only a couple hundredths off of those guys. So they're starting to slow back up to the rest of the field here. It's only a matter of time if they keep this up, where there's either going to be a mistake or guys are going to start passing them.
I'll tell you this much also, it's the way they're racing. The tires cannot be feeling great from this as whole. The blocks are happening and the moves almost into the back bumper was the 7 into the 77, and it wouldn't be the first time we've seen that happen for sure this season. As it's been a few mix-ups between these two, as now the 7's going to have another run. Where does he elect to go with it? This time he jots to the outside, and this is just showing these drivers are not willing to wait in the wings. They want to go for every single position available to them. And right now, that 7 Alex Coffey, he's under threat from the 78. He's got a massive run on the 77.
And that's exactly what Gavin Rogers wants to see, Zach. He wants to see his teammate get to the inside of Alex Coffey and have them start battling, because that's going to slow them both up and allow Gavin Rogers to get a little bit of breathing room and an opportunity to cool off his tires just a little bit.
We'll see how it all plays out, but right now Borbell battling with Camper in the 43, who did a similar thing last run. He drove up forward at the beginning of the run, but fell back later. We'll see if he can do a better job here at keeping the tires underneath him after charging up through.
It has been a hectic last 20 laps or so. I think these guys are finally starting to settle in here, Zach. Hopefully, for my sake, they're starting to settle in, because I don't know if my heart can take much more.
It is definitely on the side of exhilarating. Definitely getting your heart pumping and the blood rushing there for these drivers all racing this hard in the playoffs. But now we got some hard racing back here around the 12th position there. You got the 33 Applaud there, almost contact between him and the 6 Alexander Light there. It's going to be 3 wide with Richard Wolsifer, the teammate of the 6. And man, the 33 had to back out there, or that would have been contact. The 6 and the 56 were close to making contact themselves, and TJ Roberts in the 3 trying to drive around the outside of the 56 up here.
Oof, Roberts making some bold moves here. Wolsifer not having the best handling. Looked like he was a little bit loose on the entry to the corner. I don't believe that was from any contact from the 3 of TJ Roberts, but manages to keep it collected. And he just seems a little bit on the tight side, maybe overdriving the entries in the 56, just a touch.
Seems to be that way as the 56 loses the nose. The 3 takes the position, and here comes the 6 Alexander Light. He's looking to get around his teammate of Wolsifer, but he's going to get up into him and almost make contact as the teammates almost come to blows off the turn 2. That was close to being a terrible situation for Limitless Esports.
You see just to the outside of Alexander Light, Steven Stimpian not made up a whole lot of ground since this restart here, and that could be just, it's so hard to pass, and you see the guys get side by side. You don't really have many options. You kind of just have to wait for them to sort it out. But it also could be some tire saving out of the 81, hoping this thing comes back around to him once everybody gets single filed out, and he can kind of start making passes of his own free will.
There's 2 ways to play it, Brandon. You go out there, you drive as hard as possible, don't care about the tires and gain those spots when you're that far back, or you do the methodical drive through. And I think that's what Steven Stimpian, like you alluded to, has elected to do, is he's now gotten past the 56 and the 6, with the 45 and the 6 almost coming to contact with back there. Now he's going to set his sights on the 33 Applaud. This 81 definitely making a charge through, because he definitely wants some stage points after getting some good ones there in the first stage.
Well, he's got a handful more laps here where he can get these stage points. The 10th place car not too far in front of him, but just a bit of open track before he can catch those guys and start doing battle with them. But getting around the 33 Applaud. But Dallas Manis, he's making a charge here behind the 81.
Manis is definitely showing up here right now as he's driven up to the back bumper of Steven Stimpian here. So great job from Dallas in this 45 machines. He's gotten past Plord And he's going to dive to the inside of the 81. This 45 looking to have some speed, but he's going to wash up there in the center of the corner too deep and almost wrecks the 81. That was close action and just a little bit of an overdrive there from the 45.
And like I said earlier, it's just 3 and 4 here at Charlotte seems to be just a little bit tighter of a corner, and it's really easy to forget that when you're in the heat of racing. Typically at a lot of these similar shaped 1.5 mile tracks, they're pretty equal for the turns, just due to track characteristics. Maybe one will have a little bit more grip somewhere, but they look almost identical. But then you go into the corner and you realize, oh man, I don't have the grip I thought I did, and you start washing up just a little bit. And we've seen it a handful of times here.
We have seen that happen a few times already here tonight. Is right now this 18 machine here trying to go around the outside of the 14 of Brad Delft to put himself up into the 8th position in the draft from Cody Reed up ahead. It's going to help pull that 18 forward as he gets to run through the corner. Now TJ Roberts in the 3. He's trying to break his way into the top 9. They also got Carl Poole in the 71 right behind them. All these drivers stacked up here for the back end of the stage points here, giving out at lap 8.
And Blaine Wilson in the 18, he needs these points. He just missed out on the stage points at the end of stage 1. And right now he's in position to at least get 1 or 2, hoping that he can reel in some of these other guys in front of him. Looks like he's probably only going to have opportunity for at least 1 more position up ahead of him here. Going to be trying to get everything he can and then hope to hold on to it for a better finish at the end, because he's given up just a little bit of points on some of the guys that he's right around for this championship hunt.
He really has. Here is TJ Roberts looking to push that 18 through, and 18 going to clear the 14. With the 14, he drive through the center, is able to pull back forward. But yeah, look at this off the corner of that 14, just a little better as the 18 struggling for front grip, but down the back straightaway, the 18 holds on to the spot.
Well, you couldn't ask for any better help than that. Just using that pocket of air between the cars to help the run off the high side of the corner. And like you said, Blaine Wilson able to get that position. But TJ Roberts now, he's going to be looking to take it. So now if you're Blaine Wilson, you've got to hope that he maybe plays nice with you here and allows you to hold this position.
And we've had some changes up for position. It's the 14 washing up into the 3 of Roberts there. That almost was a wreck down the back straightaway, but we've had some change up. Here it is. The 7 Alex Coffey. He's now back to the 4th position. It's Adam Busio and Mason Halsman have both passed him, and Coffey got into the outside wall there a little bit last lap, trying to utilize that top side because I think his car had gone away from him. He felt like, maybe I'll change something up here to see if it works better. But I think that 7 tires are gone because they battled so hard for that lead at the beginning.
Oh, I think that you're exactly right there, Zach. And the biggest thing with that battle, Gavin Rogers didn't burn up his tires any less than Alex Coffey did. Gavin Rogers had the advantage of coming out in front on that battle and having the clean air to help his tires longer into the run, where Alex Coffey was stuck in the dirty air so much that's just a little bit less front grip. You're not getting all the air on the nose, and it kind of compounds the battle that he already had here. And you said struggled, got into the fence, and he's looking to not lose any more positions, holding down 4th right now. Still pretty solid points, but that freaky fast Grand Slam, that's kind of going away. I'm sorry, Alex.
It is trickling away from the 7, and you can see here just tight again off of 4. Look at this, the 43 at Camper. He's going to be coming through here to take the position on Alex Coffey, and Coffey just struggling, having to make with what's due here for him as he gets to the top side again, and just don't think that 7's going to be able to make the speed here to hold on to a top 4 positions. Now he's going to cut back to the inside of Camper here with the run off the top side. He's not giving up though, Brandon. That's the key point.
No, he's still trying to make those runs work, but just the slower center speed that he has to maintain to hold his line through the corners. You see right there, Dakota Camper able to get a much better run, carrying a lot more speed off the corner here. And Alex Coffey, he's going to hold on to 5th. Stephen Borbell a little bit behind him here, not running all that much quicker, and it's kind of flip-flopping. But right now, Alex Coffey's running about a 10th slower than the 4 in front of him.
He is definitely struggling, to say the least. But Gavin Rogers up front did his thing, man. He got to the outside, got to the inside, did every little thing he could to get past that 7. And I think the other big thing is Rogers was on the bottom for a good bit more of those laps. I think that bottom side definitely better on the tires, where Coffee was charging that top side for many more laps. I think that kind of had to play a little bit of a factor. But the last lap here in stage number 2, I will say Hossman, the teammate of the 77, has closed it in just a teeny bit, but it's not going to be enough, because right now the 77 of Gavin Rogers, he's going to come off a 4 with the 78 making a final little charge up here. The 77 going to hold on and win stage number 2 here tonight for the NCI 250 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And what a job by Gavin Rogers there to climb back to the top position after winning here at Charlotte last season.
And then you've got Dakota Camper able to make that pass on Adam Buzzio. Hard battle right there on the white flag lap for the stage. Borbell 6th, Cody Reed 7th, Blaine Wilson able to hold on to, I believe, 8th place for some well-needed stage points, and then Steven Stimping in the 81, unfortunately missing out in 11th, with TJ Roberts bringing in that 10th position.
Everybody there, drivers that need stage points. That's what's critical after this second stage, is drivers accumulating those points to help themselves for the next race there in Michigan, because that concludes the round of 8. But we got a traffic jam up here ahead. Is the 71 of Carl Pooler and the 13 of Ryan Harrison. They are broke down here on the back straightaway, Brandon. I do not know what happened here, but something major happened there with either, I believe, Carl Pooler, and I think it was just due to the checkup of the field. Is, man, oh man, the 51 and the 71 came to contact, and this started fireworks back here in this backpack.
Yeah, that best I can say is that is just a lack of awareness. Unfortunately for a handful of people, you'll see here they're slowing down for the stage caution here, and the 51 going to get into the back of the 71 and just kind of turn him into the 33 of Plord. And after a little while, the 77 is going to slide to a stop here, and there's going to be at least 2 guys that just come flying in and drill the 71.
And, you know, I can't even blame Shade too much for this, because they're trying to get caught up here for the incident. And then Ryan Harrison, oh man, that right there was a awkward incident to say the least there. But the people were trying to catch up to that pack there to get pitted, and they think it's the stage yellow for no incident, which it was a stage yellow for no incident, but there was an incident that happened, and that right there just changed the whole playing field of everything. So, wow, what crazy scenes we just had right there. But with that, that scenes, we're going to have a chat with Gavin Rogers, our stage 2 winner, and I will say he had issues when he got to his box, so he didn't win the race off pit road. So this could be an interesting chat here with this 77 machine. So we'll bring Gavin Rogers from his team on down here to the waiting room and have a chat with myself and Brandon. Hey, Gavin, it's Zach and Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, man, excellent job there to win that stage 2. Take us through that battle, because, man, it looked critical to get out front in clean air, because you were just stuck behind him there in stage 1.
Yeah, it may look like we were pushing, which we kind of were, but trying to still take it easy on entry and center to keep the tires clean for the longer run there. But yeah, that kind of racing was just that was a lot of fun. I can't lie, I enjoyed that quite a bunch, and proud that I'm able to be up here finally, especially talk to you guys, and looking forward to the end of this race. Hopefully we could get a win out of this.
Well, Gavin, you've been towards the front, either first or second, pretty much this entire race so far, bringing home that second stage win. How confident do you feel that you can get this lead and drive away with this thing and bring yourself home the winner and come talk to us later tonight?
Yeah, I'm not feeling too bad about it. I know Dakota, Adam, and all these other guys are still pretty fast, and of course Alex, he's probably been the fastest one out of all of us here, but he's fallen back to, I believe, 4th with running into the wall there at the end of that stage. So hopefully that helps me out a bit, and I think if I can get the lead here, I could probably pull away.
Well, best of luck to you, Gavin, buddy. Congrats on winning the second stage there, and hopefully we talk to you after the event.
Thank you, boys.
All right, we'll head to our stage 2 Victor back up to his room there. Gavin Rogers in the 77, and whew, I'm normally I'm pretty prepared for those interviews, Brandon, but with all that whirlwind there under that stage yellow, I was kind of mind blown by what I was seeing and kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, it's not something you see typically all that often. An incident that happens after the yellow comes out threw us off of our groove. I want to give an update as well. The 78 of Mason Hausman, we saw him come out ahead of his teammate. There is a new feature on iRacing that allows you to calculate how much fuel you need to put into the car with a certain lap extra on your pit stops, and it has bit a few drivers that I've raced with in various leagues, and unfortunately it has bit Mason Hausman while he was on pit road. He did not get any fuel in that car, so he had to come back down and give up all that track position, currently in 16th position for this restart.
It's a nifty new feature that they've added to iRacing where you auto fuel and get a certain amount, but it definitely can be very detrimental, because if you don't watch those black boxes, you don't control them well enough, then you have those issues, and you got to feel for Hausman there, getting used to a new feature brought in here by iRacing. So it's something you got to pay attention to, and I think going into the next few races, he will definitely be thinking about that a little more. He's came from the back once before. He's going to have less time, but we'll see how well the 78 can recover back in 17th. But it's going to be Dakota Camper, the driver that's taken the lead, and man, this is going to be cool to see here, Brandon, with him out front, as we did get this extended by 1 lap here for this yellow flag. But Dakota Camper starting out front, this is going to shake some things up, and he was very quick there in that run. So could we see this 43 have a chance of going to victory lane?
Well, I think so. He paced himself very well and was making a lot of headway. I think had that stage caution not come out and it just went green from there, he was going to be in a very good position to maybe challenge Gavin Rogers here for this lead with the pace that he had. If he can continue that, and maybe some more of these guys get up here and keep each other side by side, keep each other close and battling just a little bit, maybe putting a little bit more heat into their tires, he's got a pretty good shot at being within striking distance to use whatever he's able to save. So definitely keep an eye on the 43 Dakota Camper.
Gonna have to keep our eye on him, that's for sure. Is double file back up. Stage 1 and 2 in the books. Alex Coffey, your stage 1 winner. Stage 2 was won by the 77 of Gavin Rogers. Both those drivers not in the lead anymore. They lead the outside front 2 rows there in the 2nd and 4th positions. We'll have Dakota Camper leading us back to green here for the NCI 250 here at the Buttkicker Cup Series at the Wicked Racing League here every Wednesday night here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. As the playoffs have kicked off here tonight, the round of 12 is commenced. We got another race next week here on Wednesday night at Michigan to close out that round of 12, and we'll see who the top 8 drivers that move on to those playoffs. But it's going to be Camper here in control of the field. Green flag is out, and they're off and away.
A pretty good start by Camper, not giving the advantage to Rogers, who has been pretty lights out on these restarts. Figured out a little something for himself. He's going to lead the way here, but Gavin Rogers, a little bit of a run out of 2, almost stalls out, and no advantage to the 77, but he's going to look to the inside anyway, and we've got a caution.
Caution out on the speedway. We'll have to see what exactly it was for. I know Steve T. Cole involved in this one, but it looks like some type of incident happening near the mid-pack of the field is, I believe, maybe the 56 of Richard Wolsifer. Yes, the 56 of Richard Wolsifer is where this all started, and just I think what we'll see here on this instant replay is just some simple mistakes adding up to a few drivers behind getting checked up and bringing out a quick little yellow. As unfortunately for Gregory Shaw, that right there gave him a required damage flag with the hit you'll see to this inside wall for him, and that's going to make him have to use his fast repair. But it was the 56 of Wolsifer up ahead of this group that got loose, Brandon. You can see him right here coming into the picture, and this checkup here led to the 51 and the 96 coming together, and that's just the accordion effect, I think, at its finest right there.
Yeah, all starts up there, like you said, with Wilson. It looked like he just caught the apron a little bit, and with the colder tires, just gets him a little upset. Good job saving it. Everybody's checking up to make sure there's no incident, and it seemed like as the 51 was coming into that, he saw a gap on the outside, and maybe was trying to take advantage of some of these guys checking up to get some freebies. And I guess the 96 just was looking to maybe find a cleaner lane to go to while he was checking up. And right at that moment, 51 tries to get on the brakes, tags him a little bit. And I think the big loser there is Carl Pooler, getting tagged by his teammate again for the second wreck in a row. Or, well, I shouldn't even say second wreck in a row, but second yellow flag. The two teammates have made contact. I think that's a better way to put it.
Definitely a better way for sure, and not better for Carl Pooler's sake there, is he has been beat up there, caught in a few incidents that were none of his own doing, and that's tough to see there for the 71 team, but we'll have to recover from it. Luckily for his sake, he is not got a playoff to worry about, so he can have those mistakes and come back into the next week and know that nothing too majorly is on the line. But right now, you see a bunch of purple banners. They're pretty much leading the first 7 spots, with Brad Delph being the first non-playoff driver in our top 10 spots. And, man, it just shows you the cream of the crop is rising to the top.
And they are in the playoffs for a reason. And, I mean, it's hard to say anything different when you look at the leaderboards here and you see all these guys that are in the playoffs right on top of each other. And that's what makes these playoff systems so hard, is you're trying to gain points on guys without a mistake. You're gaining 1 or 2 at a time. The stages make it a little bit easier, but it's still, you're not gaining 10 points on guys, your closest competitor every single race. It's anywhere from 1 to 5, maybe 6 points every race, and you just got to keep doing that consistently, which is really hard to do.
It's so tough to keep that up for sure, and I think all these drivers are knowing what is going to have to get done for them to get themselves on to that next round of those playoffs. But at the moment, Dakota Camper's still the leader of this race, and for him, this has got to be good bonus points in the back pocket for that 43 machine there. Is he's, I think, got to be taking this all in and saying, man, right now I'm playing with house money. This is a perfect situation, because he came in here 0 points to the good on the cut line, and drivers like Johnny Shea, Blaine Wilson, Jimmy Kubinek, they are way behind him. Even Mason Halsman, well outside the top 10. And even drivers such as Cedric Hunter not racing, this has opened up the door for Dakota Camper, definitely, I feel like, to move on to that round of 8.
Well, based on some rough calculations of where I remember Dakota finishing for the stages, I think at present, he is above that cut line, maybe a couple points. He may be 7th, maybe 8th, right at the cut line. But he's pretty good right now, looking for a solid finish to solidify that, especially, like you said, Cedric Hunter essentially giving a free position inside that cut line with him not being here tonight. And a lot of incidents that have happened to some of these other drivers like Jimmy Kubinek and Steven Stimpian ahead of him in the points right now that didn't get stage points for stage 2. So the door's been busted wide open, and he's looking to take some serious advantage here. He's just got to hope that he doesn't put himself in a bad spot.
The door is wide open, and who's going to take the opportunity open to him? Because we have 11 drivers competing for 8 spots. Cedric Hunter already an early out here for the playoffs, as he's not able to make the full schedule. So that's opened up the door for someone to make it through that possibly could have been on the outside looking in or not. So we'll have to watch how it all concludes here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the NCI 250. And, man, it's been an epic race so far. We've seen the battle in stage number 2 that I got to say was excellent between the 7 and the 77. They always seem to put on quite the show when they battle up front, and they always seem to put it right on the line. But who's going to have something for the 43 Dakota Campers? That's going to be the question, because he has been here at the very end of the race before, and he's been able to solidify that position there at Richmond not too long ago. So we'll see if he can continue that trend of finishing up towards the front. Pace car is in. Dakota Camper in control of the field, and we are back green flag racing here as the 43 is off and away.
Another great start out of Camper. Again, front four looking to be single file. Adam Buzzio, though, looking to the inside of Gavin Rogers, but that run from the middle, Gavin Rogers just being so aggressive on these fresh tires, able to put the power down and just yard the 5 down the backstretch.
The 5 is just trying to make spots up here while he can, but look at the 7 here, Brandon. This is interesting. Not taking off with the speed I thought he would show. Maybe he's electing to do a little bit of a different strategy and save something here to try to go up there and take that lead, because I think he noticed that having the race for that lead and contend with the 77 is just going to burn the tires up. As now Steven Stippian, he's trying to break his way back into the top 7 as he's trying to pass the 14 of Delph, but Delph holding strong on the outside groove is up in front of him. The 2 of Borbell wiggles.
And I think back to the 7, you said, you know, maybe a little bit of tire saving. I think it's a bit of tire saving, but also figuring out how to drive with the dirty air, as he's not experienced too much of that this race. And Steven Stimpian here trying to look to the inside of Borbell. He's been clawing for all this track position back. Finally back inside the top 10 here. Going to be looking for that 6th position over Borbell. And that outside lane, you see it there from late center to exit. That run that you can carry. Borbell's already cleared himself, but Stimpian looking again to the inside, just to the quarter, but has to chase it up the track a little bit too hot on entry yet again in 3.
That's opened up the door now for Cody Reed. Is back in the background is TJ Roberts bouncing off the wall. That's opened up the doors behind him as him and Mason Halsman come together there as they enter into 1, and these two getting very, very close here in the center of 1 and 2, and down the back straightaway. We're going to have to watch out between these two.
Yeah, that was optimistic, I think, out of the 3 trying to cover off that position with the run that the 78 had, but they managed to get away with that one. Hausman able to take that position and try to set his sights forward here on Brad Delph.
Setting his sights forward here and trying to make something gain for that 78, who's coming back from having a fueling issue. Didn't get all the fuel he needed in that car, and now trying to drive his way back forward here into position is the 14 of Brad Delph. Right ahead of him, he's battling with the 45 of Dallas Manis here for the 9th and 10th position as this group is continuing to stack up. Remember, stage points are already been paid out. Now it's just about where you finish to get the points that you deserve, and everybody here in this final stage giving it their all.
And you see the front handful all single file. Well, I say that, and then one car jumps out of line as these two here continue to battle, and Hausman just looking for a lane to try to get by Brad Delph. And you see the guys up here battling now. Looks like Blaine Wilson looking to gain a few more positions on his march forward after that early penalty. Nice rebound.
Very excellent rebound from this 18. He's got the 81 of Steven Stippian to his outside now, trying to drive around this 18 machine. And Wilson last season was one of the best drivers when it came to mile and a halves. We'll see if he can continue that trend over to this season here into the playoffs. As now he's going to block off the 25 and showing that these drivers are getting aggressive right now with their blocking.
It's always such a fine line, Zach. I know you as a driver as well might have an opinion on this. When guys throw blocks on you, I mean, you don't want to start doing that too early, because guys lose their patience with it pretty quickly. There's a little bit of contact with the 25. It's going to cost the 18 at least one position here, as now Dallas Manis goes to the inside.
Those two just bouncing off each other there, as that was close to being worse than what it could have been, but Reed takes the position. Now Wilson, he's the one losing out, as he's got drivers going inside, outside of him in the 18 as he drops farther back here from that lead position. Or sorry, from that 8th position.
Again, just trying to find out how to run this middle lane, and Hausman has just been stuck. He's been trying to find his way forward, giving bumps and shots to help guys get clear and not get stuck behind them. And you just see how much he is sailing it off into 3. He's able to make it stick, though. And you can sail it off as hard as you want, as long as you make it stick. And he's done a good job of that, using every bit of the racetrack there.
Ooh, almost contact between those two. And right into the entry of the corner, there's going to be more contact. The 18 of Wilson's trying to hang on the 78 of Halsman. diving to the inside, and Blaine Wilson's not going to be happy here. He's been used up a couple laps in a row, and now he's making contact with the 78 down the back straightaway, and these guys 3 wide in the 3. Greg Shaw trying to follow him through as the action here is jam-packed from the 9th position on back. Brandon, this is getting a little bit spicy here for these drivers.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really blame Blaine Wilson for being upset about that one. Flat got run over there on the entry to the corner. And, you know, Hossman, he's fast. We know he's fast. He knows he's fast. You're rebounding from a mistake. You know you can get back up there. But you still got to respect the guys around you. And, you know, maybe just a little bit of a mess up there. But luckily, didn't turn him. And Blaine Wilson showed his displeasure. Everybody kind of got away with that one here. And I'm sure Blaine Wilson's probably going to remember that for later if he gets the chance to maybe take advantage of the 78. We might look for that.
We might have to look for that, but we're past lap 100. We're under 40 to go here, and we haven't had our break yet here at Freaky Fast, as it's been jam-packed action all throughout the first part of this race. So we're going to head to our commercial break. Side-by-side action here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting here at the Wicked Racing League for the NCI 250 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the first race of the Wicked Racing League's playoffs. And we will be back in the next few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. You won't miss a thing.
You wanted the best, you got them for a rest. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws. Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is, like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
And we are back here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the Wicked Racing League for the Buttkicker Cup Series for the first playoff race of season number 2 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And my name is Zach Hall. Joined alongside me here tonight is Brandon Colley, and we've had a heck of a show so far here, Brandon, with this race. Right now, watching Mason Halsman in this 9th position charge his way through, and 18 of Wayne Wilson him had a little contact, a little displeasure between the two. I wonder if that leads to something more here because they're staying close.
Yeah, a little bit of an advantage to Hausman here as he's kind of pulled out a little bit of a gap, but I mean, all it takes is one caution to stack these guys back up, and we could see fireworks as you see Hausman going to the inside of Borbell on the 2. Gets clear for the moment. We'll see what kind of run Borbell's able to generate. Going to be able to get back to that right rear quarter and hold station. And I'm noticing, Zach, it seems like the dirty air here is really strong. These guys are struggling to make passes really on anybody. It seems like if you get to the front, like we're seeing Dakota Camper, he's been able to hold that lead against a strong car in Gavin Rogers, and it's been the same all the way throughout the field. You just put yourself in the right position. It's just so hard to get past.
Completely agree with you there, Brandon. I mean, it's showing right here. I mean, our top 2 cars are in 2nd and 3rd. Nothing taken away from Camper all night. He's been quick, especially that 2nd run. But he's been able to hold this lead for a majority of the time. But here may be the time because the 43 is going to the outside. He's going way up the groove, and that's going to open up the door for Rogers there. And I think this is going to be a nice, methodical pass. But the 43 fights back. What's the 7 going to do here? Can he push the 43 around the 7 to get to his outside? This could be the battle for the win here that really shakes this up.
Well, I think Coffey's best choice is to not help Gavin Rogers. Even if he thinks that Camper is holding him up, and that's maybe not the line that he wants to run right now, if he pushes Gavin Rogers by Dakota Camper, the likelihood that he gets back by him, from what we've seen so far, not very great. But now Gavin Rogers getting around Dakota, so now Alex Coffey's going to try to make short work here and not give up any more time than he has to being side by side.
He's going to try his best here, but he's going to have the dirty air from the 77. That's going to hurt the 7's chances, but he clears them there off a 2, and big run for Coffey. And did he save enough? That was the question. We've seen him save a little bit. Ooh, the blink there from the 77. That puts the 7 to the outside, and I think that was even a surprise for us because I only think the 7 knew he was making a move there, but he's to the outside of the 77, and he's in the prime position.
And I think you're exactly right. He saved a little bit. Just that run that he was able to get, how held down to the bottom in the dirty air, he was able to hold that car while maintaining more speed, getting back to the throttle earlier. It's so telling as to the state of his right front tires so far in this run. Alex Coffey's in a pretty good spot right now if he can just manage and pick the right opportunity here.
Will Gavin Rogers go back-to-back here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway and get that victory that gave him the championship just like last season and get his 2nd win of this season? I think that's another big picture. This would only be the 77's 2nd win this season. It's been much more spread out when it comes to victories. And this 7 machine is looking to try to stop that and get his 3rd victory for Alex Coffey.
And it's definitely not been for a lack of pace out of the 77. He has been one of the front runners each and every week. And sometimes stuff just happens that keep you from those wins. You can dominate and lead, 99.99% of the race, and just that one little thing that happens is going to keep you from leading that last lap that you need to, which is the most important one to keep you from that win. So I'm sure he would like to have more, but he's set up in a pretty good position coming in points and looking for that 3rd win, or that 2nd win, like you said, going back-to-back here at Charlotte. But it's not going to be easy with Alex Coffey hounding him like this.
Alex Coffey all over the 77 of Gavin Rogers right now as they race side by side for that lead position. And I tell you what, Brandon, it's getting spicy between these two.
Well, 2nd verse, same as the 1st. Repeat of stage 2 between the 77 and the 7. And I've got to give the advantage, like I said, to Alex Coffey this time. He just seems like he's maybe saved just a little bit better than what Gavin Rogers is able to save riding behind Camper, but he's fighting back pretty strong on that outside lane, utilizing that extra bit of momentum that you can carry up there.
That outside lane can be great for defending, but also bad for hurting those tires. And this is bringing in a lot of people here. Buzzio, Steven Stippian, and Stippian is flying compared to this group in this 81. Could he have a chance to go up here and steal a victory? This is getting wild here. We're coming to 19 to go. Our top 5, you can throw a blanket over.
Well, looking at the lap times, and we'll see how they kind of sort out now that everybody's really packed together, kind of checking each other up. But I believe Steven Stippian was the faster of the top 5, just by a little bit. But like I said, we'll see what it's like now that they're all kind of stacked together and smushed like sardines, battling side by side. And Snip's really taking it easy. You see he's laying back just a little bit, not really pressing to try to get position to carry a run. Just let these guys sort themselves out, knowing he's still got a little bit of time before he has to try anything too drastic.
You're exactly right about that. 18 to go. I think it's tough as a driver to hold back. We'll see what Steven Stippian can do here. From this onboard view, you can see just how stacked up this group is. Alex Coffey and the 77 Rogers, they have not been side by side for that whole time, but as you say it, the 7 of Coffey, the bottom side finally works, and I think it just shows you that bottom, if you just keep working it over and over, it will work at some point there in 3 and 4 to allow you to clear.
Yeah, you've just got to keep plucking away at it and be smooth and consistent. You'll gain just a little bit each and every lap, and eventually that'll result in you clearing, and you've just got to make sure you don't overdrive and hope that maybe the guy on the outside tries to carry that little bit too much speed and it slows down his center where he's trying to chase the car and keep it out of the fence, and it'll pay off big time on top of tire saving as well. So we saw Alex Coffey utilize it to its fullest right there to finally make that pass over Gavin Rogers to get back to the lead.
What a job from the 17 there to get back to the lead position after losing it. And look at this. The 2 of Borbell, he's coming by on fresh tires, and what the run he has, man, he about ran these guys over. He's 2 laps down here on these fresh tires, but look at the difference of the speed he can carry through the center and off.
Well, I'm not sure if this was damage that brought the 2 down pit road. I noticed he came in a handful of laps ago. But you can see the amount of fall off that these guys are experiencing here with just how fast the 2 was able to get around these guys. Not going to be able to make up these laps with the few laps we have left here. So we're going to be trying to get all he can. But these front guys, wishing they had those fresh tires, I'll tell you that much.
And I can tell you, I went back and looked for Borbell. He got contact between him and Brad Delph down in the 3, broke the toe link on that car, and had to break the pit road. So the 2 had to come down and get that thing fixed up, and that's going to push him back to 17th, and that's going to be a tough night for Steven Borbell, who qualified in the 3rd spot and was looking to get some great points. But it's Cody Reed here in 6th, kind of in no man's land, but he's going to have to hold off Manis behind him, who is about a 10th quicker here. So it's not over for Reed. He needs to just get what he can and hopefully hold back this 45 to get the best points possible.
Yeah, about a 10th slower than Manis behind him, and a handful of tenths slower than the group in front of him here. So no man's land indeed. He's hoping he just does not step on a landmine here in the closing laps.
We'll see how that works out with 13 to go, but Alex Coffey up front starting to put in lap times that look just too good for this group here. The second group is struggling. The 77 Rogers just hasn't been able to find his footing ever since falling back to second after taking the lead from Dakota Camper. And Adam Buzzio, he is trying his best here to break himself into the top 2 positions, and that would be a classic Adam Buzzio, right? As I say that, the 43 Camper dives to the outside.
Now, they're just trying to find that slight bit of advantage all packed together here, and so far they just nothing doing. I mean, they're just kind of stuck. You see Camper, he's trying to sail it off into the corner, rip the high side, try to carry that momentum, but the bottom is just dead even right now. And especially if you're in the front here where you really don't have any draft help pulling you forward, because the gap's been opened up so much by Alex Coffey, it makes it that much more difficult to get that more aggressive of a run out of the corner. But right now, they're taking advantage of Camper. You see Stympian's finally going around to make a pass here, who I felt was the faster of this group of 4.
Rogers is struggling, guys. Off of 4. Just cannot get back to the throttle. And this is opening up the door here for the 81 of Steven Stympian. And right here, Dakota Camper's going to like his chances because now he's going to push the 77 of Rogers down into 1. And he's going to possibly look to make it 3 wide, but I think the 81 just going to have too much more front turn than the 77. And down here in 3 and 4, this is where that inside groove has been that much better. I just think if you're Rogers, you're going to have to just hold on to what you can here. He got the stage 2 victory, but it looks like the victory is going to be out of his grasp if this race stays green, as he's just struggling for that front grip. As now Camper going to elect to go with Steven Stympian. I think that's a smart decision because those are the 2 faster cars in the 77 if they just gang up on him.
Oh, for sure. And you could just see how much the 77 was struggling. As soon as Buzzio was able to get by him, he yarded him within a straightaway. Pulled out about 10 car lengths. So 77 just trying to hold on, like you said. Stympian able to take advantage. Unfortunately, Camper going to get bottled in and not be able to follow the 81 through.
We'll see how this works out. Camper just hasn't been able to get it done as Rogers is able to hold him off for that position. And the cool thing about this, Brandon, is can Adam Buzzio break the curse of third places? This is a great point brought up by our own Sam Dyer out there in chat. Adam Buzzio is yet to get a second place finish in this series. You know, this could be huge for him here, man. Just going out there and getting that second place finish for momentum, because he's finished third a whopping 8 times. 8 times this man has finished third. So we'll see if he can break that curse in the 5, and it looks to be like he can do it because right now him and Steven Stympian pretty much breaking even being a little bit quicker sometimes.
A little bit of an advantage to Stympian with the draft. It's going to allow him to close in, but that dirty air, it's been so easy to keep somebody behind you if you position your car right. Buzzio's in a really good spot to finally break that curse if he just doesn't make any mistakes and just drives nice and smooth here and just tries to dump that dirty air on the nose of the 81, really whatever lane he decides to pick. He doesn't have that many laps that he's going to have to hold him off for either.
This is a valuable opportunity, too, because Adam Buzzio came in here 1 point to the good on the cut line here coming in tonight to Charlotte. And, man, I'll tell you what, I mean, with the race he's had here tonight, this is going to definitely sort him up that leaderboard to get him in a much better position heading into Michigan next week. Along with him, Steven Stympian also will be in that position. And the 43 Dakota Camper, who came in last place in points, he should skyrocket up into the top 8. So this has been a huge night here at Charlotte to start this first round off for a few drivers out there that are building their cases to go to the round of 8.
Oh, absolutely. And that battle with Dallas Manis and Cody Reed, Manis finally ran him down and was able to solidify that pass. So that's one more spot for Manis and one less point for Cody Reed.
That's huge for Reed. That 1 point could be vulnerable or valuable for him heading into the next race at Michigan. He came here 5 points to the good, but still came out here with a decent night compared to a few of his other competitors out there who have just had terrible nights when it comes to playoff scoring. And those will be drivers like Steven Borbell there, Jimmy Kubinek at 13th, Johnny Shaden 12th. Those drivers all outside the top 10 going to be feeling the hurt from this. But the driver that's going to be loving it the most, it's this man, Alex Coffey here, as he's coming to 3 laps to go. The last 2 laps, he has been slower than the drivers in second and third, but they're not gaining enough to make inroads quick enough. But I tell you what, that battle for second ain't over either. Steven Stympian, he's found new life on the tires, and the 81 is charging to continue Adam Buzzio's third-place streak.
Well, he made significant inroads on that gap in just the last lap and a half here. He's going to be coming across. 2 laps to go for Adam Buzzio to hold off Steven Stympian and break that curse.
Can he do it? Adam Buzzio has fought so many times for these top 3 positions. Has gotten third 8 times in the past here at the Buttkicker Cup Series. Now trying to better that position by 1 spot, but it's the run from the 81 of Stympian down the back straightaway. He's to the inside, and this may be his chance because 3 and 4 we've seen all night. That bottom side has been the best way to go. The 5 drives it in, loses the nose on entry. The 81 may clear him here off of 4, and he does. as he clears them. Up front, though, Alex Coffey in the 7 machine, he sees the freaky fast white flag. It's 1 lap to go here for the Buttkicker Cup Series of playoff race number 1.
Well, no question who the winner's going to be as it stands right now. Question for second is Buzzio trying to get back by Stimpian, but Stimpian gets such a good run out of 2. Buzzio going to have 1 more shot to break that curse.
1 more shot. Alex Coffey with no worries for himself, but the 5 into the outside wall. He's not going to have enough run, and he's not going to get the second, but it's going to be the 7. Alex Coffey win number 3 on the season and win number 1 here in the playoffs for season number 2 for the 7. He's moving on to the round of 8.
Well, fantastic racing all night. Great job for Alex Coffey. Had that incident where he brushed the wall earlier after a hard battle up there for the lead, and able to take it back and just set sail on these guys. I mean, it was no contest there at the end of this race. Well-deserved win.
What a job by Alex Coffey. I mean, it's tough. When you lose that track position that's so valuable, we see it can be what is the make or break thing for when it comes to winning these races. And this driver lost that clean air, found a way to make it work, and fought his way back to the lead spot, winning the pole, winning stage 1, and winning the race. Alex Coffey almost having a perfect night, just missing out on that stage 2 victory. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter for him. He's going on to the next round, Brandon. He can go ahead and get prepared for the round of 8.
And that's a dangerous thing when somebody's able to get, right off a race, essentially. Doesn't really matter. Start practicing for a whole extra week over the competition. Come the next round, he's gonna be one to watch out for sure.
That he will be as he celebrates on the front straightaway of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're going to talk to our top 2 drivers and a spotlight driver here in our post-race show. So we'll be back here in a few moments to get those drivers compiled for you, and you won't miss a thing here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be right back. And we are back here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Zach Hall. Joined alongside me tonight is Brandon Colley with Robert Moyer Jr. running the productions in the background. Welcome to the Freaky Fast Broadcasting post-race show here for the NCI 250 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. What a wild race it was here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the playoff race number 1. And we're going to talk first to our race winner, Alex Coffey, as he was able to get it done and get his third win of the Wicked Racing League season. Hey, Alex, it's Zach and Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, what a job by you, man. Pole position, winner of stage number 1, and winner of the race. That's got to feel great for yourself, but take us through what you had to come back from there, because, you know, you lost the track position there in stage 2, and you had to do a little bit of a different job there in that last and final stage to get that victory, man.
Yeah, I was going for the Freaky Fast Grand Slam in stage 2, so I was really battling hard to try to keep clean air with Gavin. We had a really fun battle there, and I burned my stuff up real bad that stage, so I kind of learned the limits of it for stage 3, and then after I burned it up that bad, I knew I had to dial something back for that next one. It ended up working out.
Well, Alex, I didn't want to bring it up to you in your stage 1 interview, but I brought it up during the broadcast and jinxed you out of that Freaky Fast Grand Slam, so my apologies. But, man, what a race you had tonight. Didn't get max points, but got far more than anybody else had today, and that's got to feel good going into the rest of the playoffs. But you punched your ticket to the next round. Don't have to worry about Michigan. How confident do you feel with this extra bit of preparation you can put into Dover that you might be able to go out there and win to punch yourself into that championship race?
Yeah, I feel real good about Dover and Darlington. It actually takes a lot of stress off when you say I don't have to worry about Michigan as much, because I'm not a big fan of that one. But yeah, Darlington and Dover, I definitely enjoy those tracks a lot. So looking forward to them. Yeah, just hope for some more good races like that. I mean, that was probably the funnest race I've ever run at Charlotte in my whole iRacing career. So it was a good one, especially for where we were at. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Got to have a lot of confidence in that 17, man. Congrats on that victory and third one of the season. You know, how big do you feel like momentum is here for these playoffs to continue to keep racking off these good finishes? Even though you are locked in, do you feel like Michigan next week will be critical to kind of stay in the fight?
Momentum is definitely important. Michigan and Charlotte's going to be kind of a lot you can use from that was learned here tonight that you could cross over into next week with the Aero type deal. So yeah, Aero was a big factor tonight in tire wear and just the whole race. Honestly, it was real hard for guys in the back to move up, and yeah, I think we can take a lot of stuff we learned this week over to Michigan.
Well, Alex, I tell you what, man, if you take what you learned here tonight there, you may be a huge threat, I'm sure, at Michigan, like you are week in and week out. But before we let you get out here and go celebrate this victory, anybody want to send a shout out to?
Yeah, big shout out my team, CNC Esports, TJ in Dallas. Shout out to my mom for watching. Shout out to y'all for broadcasting. And VJT Consulting, Buttkicker, and Idealise, our league sponsors. Big shout out to them. And shout out to Gavin for that. That was a good clean battle. Traded a little paint, but you know that's racing. It was a fun one tonight. So.
Well, Alex, thank you for putting on a show for us week in and week out, man, and we'll catch you next week at Michigan.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
All right, that was our race winner there, folks. Great job by Alex Coffey getting that third win of the season for him. But now we're going to move ourselves on to the second place position, as it was the driver of Steve and Stimpy in the 81 that was able to get there and take away that second spot from Adam Buzzio just in the last few moments. Good recovery from him. Let's hear from the 81. Hey, Steven, it's Zach and Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Zach, what's going on, buddy?
It is going good, buddy. I tell you what, though, great recovery from the 81 team. Take us through that recovery drive here tonight after some early woes with that toe link being broke.
Yeah, just happy that I rebounded there. Start the race. It was a pretty good run. Learned my lesson the hard way when I made the early pass on Borbell. early on. I used up too much tire going on the high line, so got too much heat underneath me and fell off on that first run. But that second run was kind of disappointing. Obviously, it just got loose, and rather than wrecking the whole field, I just sent it to the wall because, obviously it's playoff race. Don't want to wreck the whole field, but I'm just happy we rebounded. I knew I had some pace, long run pace. I think I finally figured out the way this tire works a little bit.
Well, Steven, you didn't get any stage points for stage 2. Decent stage points for stage 1 and a great finish here to close out Charlotte. We alluded to it during the race, and we heard it from Alex Coffey that there's a lot that you can learn here tonight at Charlotte that transfers over to help you at Michigan. Do you feel like you've learned anything that might give you a little bit of an advantage at Michigan to maybe snag the win?
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a learning curve on this, the way the tie is working in these next gens. I know I've had the conversation with Zach before on these tires, but it's just not what I'm used to. But I feel pretty good about Michigan. Michigan's a good track of mine. I've had a lot of success there at Michigan, so I'm just happy we rebounded. Got the win last week. Come here, get second, maybe get third next week. Make it a trifecta or something. I don't know, whatever you want to call that. But we got some good tracks coming up. I'm excited for the last 4 tracks here. Especially, I almost didn't make it tonight, so I'm glad I was able to finish second. Happy with that.
We're definitely glad that you got out there, Steven, and take us through how hard it was to pass, because we did see that outside groove was able to defend, but it seemed like if you held multiple laps up there, you alluded to the tire wear, it seemed like that outside groove would actually at some point just die away from there. So take us through the passing aspect there and how tough it was to get done.
Yeah, the high line was pretty good maybe for a lap or two, and then after a lap or two running pretty hard on that high line, it'd fall off. So, I was talking to Cody during that race that I'm just gonna run the low line the whole time on this last stage, and keep the tires cool and see what we could do. I think me and Adam had some pretty good pace there at the end. If we didn't get held up by Gavin and whoever else was up there, I forget the name, but trying to make the pass was hard because they had such a good run on the high line coming off the corner. You just couldn't get around them quick. I think if we were able to get around that traffic a little bit quicker, I think we really had something for Coffee. Felt pretty good pace wise, but learned something. We'll take it into Michigan and see what we can do.
We'll have to see what plays out for you, Steven, but congrats on a great night here at Charlotte and a great points battle for you. Before we let you get out here and get ready for Michigan next week, anybody want to send a shout out to?
Yeah, obviously you guys, week in, week out, the work you guys do, broadcasting, you guys do a fantastic job. Carly, you've been one of the best to listen to after the next day. Glad you came up and been commentating. And then obviously my beautiful wife out there, she's waiting for me to hang out for a little bit before we go to bed. And my little boy out there, hope he's feeling a little bit better tonight. But my dad out there watching, love you, Pops. And obviously all the guys here that run the league, appreciate it. It's been fun coming down to crunch time. I'll see you guys later.
All righty, Steven, you have a great night, buddy, and we'll catch you in Michigan.
Thank you. You guys too.
All right, folks, that was your second place finisher there, Steven Stippian. Great rebound for him here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But now we're going to go into our spotlight driver, the driver who finished third, and that's the 5 of Adam Buzzio. Let's hear from the 5 machine after an excellent night here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Hey, Adam, it's Zach and Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, well, an excellent run here to 9th. Got in the 3rd place finish, and don't want to downplay the 3rd, but 9th, 3rd place finish in your career here at Buttkicker. How close do you feel like or in the Buttkicker Cup Series, how close do you feel like you were to getting that second man? Because that was a great battle coming down to the end.
Oh, man, yeah, it was fun. I'm not even disappointed, to be honest with you. Steven and I, for one reason or another, end up racing around each other quite a bit. We have really similar styles of racing, so it's always fun to race him. So I can't be mad about 3rd tonight, man.
Well, Adam, you had very good stage points tonight. A great finishing position coming home 3rd. More points in the bank for you. Going into Michigan next week and then throughout the playoffs, the rest of the playoffs, how confident are you feeling being able to string these great finishes and the speed you've had the last handful of weeks together.
I'll tell you what, man. Our playoffs this season are going to be very competitive. I think everybody knows that. We have a really competitive field of guys, but I do feel more confident this season than I have in seasons past. When we don't have that bad luck get us, we've been really quick. We were fast enough to win tonight. Steven was too. We both got held up there at the end with 15 or 20 to go. Camper was blocking pretty hard, but not dirty or anything, but we both got held up a little bit. I think that caused us to lose some time to Alex. I think we probably could have gave him a run for his money, but yeah, man, I feel good going into the next couple races. Just gonna try to keep the momentum going.
Well, Adam, it's definitely fun to watch, man, and you came in here 1 point to the good on that cut line. It was a great points night here, finishing third, getting stage points in both stages for you. Heading to Michigan next week, what do you feel like you need to execute to make sure you get to the round of 8?
Well, I'd love to get that W, man, obviously. But if we can't get the win, we just need to do exactly what we did tonight. Got to stay out of trouble and just maximize points. It's always good for the first of the 2 races before the cutoff. It's always good to have a good points night like we had tonight. It takes a little bit of that pressure off going into next week. You know what I mean? Just because we'll have a little bit of a cushion. But if we can do what we did tonight, we'll be in good shape.
Well, man, we know how consistent you are, and being right up front there, I wouldn't doubt seeing you right back up front once again in Michigan. But before we let you get out of here and go get prepared for next week at Michigan, anybody want to send a shout out to there, Adam?
Yeah, for sure, guy. I want to thank you guys over at Freaky Fast for everything you do for us. Put on a great show, and we sincerely appreciate it. I know our fans and sponsors do as well. I want to thank Buttkicker, VJT Consulting, for everything they do. Ideal East and Trivista, our co-sponsors for our league here. I want to thank my teammate Steven. He deserved better tonight. Got caught up in a little bit of trouble there, but he'll come back next week, I have no doubt. So thank my wife Julie, and thank everybody for tuning in tonight.
Well, Adam, you have the best of nights, man, and we'll catch you next week at Michigan.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
All right, folks. That was your third place driver and your spotlight driver here tonight for the NCI 250 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And what a wild race we had on hands for ourselves. As we've gotten done with our interviews, we'll head to now looking at the race results here tonight for this race. As Charlotte put on quite the show, Brandon, and I'm telling you, I expect a lot more heading into Michigan next week, as we're going to be cutting it down just from the 12 drivers now that we have in the playoffs to the final 8. That will be decision for the final 4, and that final 4 will fight for a championship in that last race of the season. So I cannot wait to see how that plays out, but there they are. The race results are up. Alex Coffey finishing first. Second, Steven Stimpian. Third is going to go to Adam Buzzio. Fourth is going to be Dakota Camper. Fifth is going to go to Gavin Rogers. Sixth is going to go to Dallas Manis. Seventh is going to be Cody Reed. Brad Dell's going to finish 8th. Ninth is going to be Mason Halsman. And rounding out the Freaky Fast top 10, it's Blaine Wilson. As we look through the rest of the order, Brandon, definitely some drivers that stick out to me that were playoff contenders having tough nights.
Well, I think they're the exact same ones that stick out to me, Zach. I mean, you look at the standings here. You got Johnny Shade, Jimmy Kubanek, Stephen Borbell finishing in 17th, a lap down. Not great nights for those guys, and they're going to have to hope for a big turnaround next week at Michigan to try to gain some of these points back and hope that maybe some of the luck that struck them tonight strikes some of the guys that finished up towards the front, like Stimpian, like Buzzio, like Rogers and Coffey, just to maybe have a shot to sneak in. But obviously, like you said, 4 of them are going to get eliminated. And you're hoping and praying that you can do enough to not be one of those 4.
Hoping that it won't be one of the 4 eliminated and one of the 8 continuing on to try to go fight for a championship here at the Wicked Racing League. It was an excellent night of racing here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We had drivers pretty much doing all different types of things. One driver, starting on pole, winning stage 1, dropping back in stage 2, just coming up short for the Freaky Fast Grand Slam. Another driver winning stage 2, thinking he was going to be well off, then dropping back into the back ends of the top 5, and then even drivers like Borbell, like he brought up, that were caught up in that late race incidents there that had to bring him down the pit road, put him a lap down. That's going to put him in a tough position heading into Michigan next week. But before we get ready for Michigan, any final thoughts from you, Brandon, about Charlotte here tonight and heading off to Michigan next week?
Well, as always here at the Wicked Racing League, great racing. I mean, these guys were getting at it, trading paint, just door to door, not giving an inch, and you can't ask for anything more. It's exciting to watch. I'm sure it's exciting to be a part of, and it's exciting to call. And 100%, you're going to see the exact same thing next week at Michigan, where it's a cutoff race, man. These guys know what's at stake, and they're going to know going in what their points position is, how much they need to gain, and they're going to be willing to risk a lot to gain those points, especially if they feel like, man, it's go or go home for me. So it's going to be the exact same thing that we saw here tonight at Charlotte, but on a much bigger stage at a 2-mile racetrack.
It's going to be fun to watch. Don't miss out next Wednesday as we head into the second race of the round of 12 here for the Wicked Racing League as they continue their march on through here to the playoffs. As we got more racing action going on throughout the week here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You'll want to tune in with us tomorrow night at 9:20 Eastern there at the Stars and Stripes Racing Series for their Throwback ARCA Series as they're heading to Talladega for the final race of their regular season so they can kick off their playoffs. And then also Saturday night you got the World Series of Sim Racing. They're heading to Talladega also. So we got 2 back-to-back Talladega races on schedule here for Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Then Monday night we'll head back to ISRC for their playoff action and then head back to the Full Send Racing Series on Tuesday night. So we got a lot coming up, and we also got a lot going on too because we have our June 10th Coke 600, well, I can't say Coke 600. It's the Gamers Outreach 600 presented by Freaky Fast Broadcasting going on. If you check out our social medias, you can go find out how to sign up for that race with a $5 minimum donation to the charity of Gamers Outreach. You'll be able to get yourself in that race and involved with it as we're racing the Gen 4 Cup Series cars for 600 miles around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Again, June 10th. At 6 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a blast. Make sure if you ain't able to race or join us, tune in and support our fundraisers. We're trying to raise over $1,000 again for one of those amazing charities out there across the world. So thank you again to everybody for tuning in here tonight. My name has been Zach Hall. With me was Brandon Colley, and for our producer Robert Moyer Jr. Thank you to everybody here who tuned in. As I always say, stay freaky fast, and we'll catch you next time.